managing a practice, being, for lack of a better word, an entrepreneur running your own business, it's so important for you to have that confidence, even when you don't feel it. And probably even more when you don't feel it, you still need to be able to show up that way, even though inside that might not be going on for you. So it's going to be very important to understand what are going to be some of the things that you're going to be able to see when you're not fully in your power in that space.
Welcome to the Super Clinic Project Podcast, Coach's Corner Edition. Ready to boost your practice by 10,000 in just 10 minutes? Join your coaches, Jennifer and Tracey, for fast and proven strategies that drive real results. Let's get started.
Welcome to the Super Clinic Project Podcast, where we take regular clinic owners and we turn them into super clinic owners. Today, you're here with me, Jennifer Glegerich, and our other super clinic host, Tracey Sundquist. She's a neuroscience expert and fellow business consultant and coach to help you add $10,000 in your business in 10 minutes. And today's topic is authoritativeness, why you being an expert matters. Tracey, you want to lead us off?
Sure. I think just right out the bat, so important to understand the difference between authoritativeness and dictatorness, right?
Yes.
It really is. There's a big difference between knowing where you're heading, knowing what you're going to do, being assertive, and just basically steamrollering everybody. So I think it is important for you to have a plan and to be able to communicate that so that you're able to move forward in your internal and external communication.
And I think it's interesting in healthcare where so many, because we're talking mostly to clinic owners and service-based owners. So let me tell you that service-based owners, where you're providing a service. Most times, if you're a service-based owners, you're very, and this is overused now, but empathetic. You really, you like people, maybe not all the people all the time, but you're here to serve and to provide value. And sometimes you have to step back and become the authority and let your voice be heard so they understand that you're speaking to them as an expert, but not a blowhard, right? There's the difference between this blowhard who's just saying, this is what you've got to get. They're not listening. I'm the expert. Nobody wants to deal with someone like that. But
yeah. You're right. I think when it comes to your health, you want to go with somebody who knows what they're talking about. And if the person that you're interacting with is kind of soft and unsure of themselves and, not giving you the kind of information and the kind of like the hardcore, this is the next step, then we're going to do this. If you don't take charge or leadership in that conversation, that individual is not going to be comfortable, assigning their health, especially for high ticket offers.
Yes. And this also goes to the staff as well, right? So you can talk about you need to lead, right? Whether you're leading your staff and leading the company or you're leading a client to help them make the decision that's best for them. Sometimes that decision may not be with you because you really don't want to work with them. They're not going to follow your advice. There's something with them and it's not going to work. Okay, fine. Then you need to lead them out the door, right? If that's it. And you don't want to be so picky. There's a fine line between being so picky you're broke and you are never going to make it in business, and then saying yes to a bunch of people who aren't with you, and you spend so much time with the basically the malignant type of personalities that the good people who came to you, they leave because you're not giving them any time and attention. So when you're a good leader, you're able to have a good frame of reference from where you're coming from, whether it's the company, and you're with your staff, or whether it's with, a potential client or patient. One of the things I've known is always use that, be interested in people. Be interested when you're interviewing about the type of person that is sitting next to you. Be interested when a patient comes in, really what their journey's been, what they're really looking for. What is their end game here? Whether it's staff or that, knowing the end game for that person is pretty important. Staff, the end game is, I want a contractual relationship. I want you to pay me at least this much of money and I will work for these many hours a week and I won't complain because that's what I want. Some people want a little bit more. Some people want it a little bit different, right? You need to find out what they really want so you can make that decision. And any sort of desperation on your part erodes your authority.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, I mean, even if you take it to the actual practice manager, managing a practice, being, for lack of a better word, an entrepreneur, running your own business, it's so important for you to have that confidence, even when you don't feel it. And probably even more when you don't feel it, you still need to be able to show up that way, even though inside that might not be going on for you. So it's going to be very important to understand what are going to be some of the things that you're going to be able to see when you're not fully in your power in that space? So there's a price to be paid when you don't, which is why, people want to pay the price so that they can show up that way, so that they can forge those relationships, so that they can improve people signing up for their packages, so that their team can be pulling in the same direction as themselves. So how would an individual, so Jennifer, for you as an example, how would a clinic owner say, this is the problem that I'm dealing with, that would lead you to say, okay, let's have a look at how assertive you're being?
Well, yeah, I would say, okay, so let's say I had a challenge with a staff member, right? I've asked them, and I'm thinking of a very specific clinic incidents. In fact, we did an episode, we did a clinic spotlight on this, but I'm thinking about how they used to lead and how they started showing up and the difference in what they got, which was pretty insane growth. So they had been very clearly saying, hey, I have this checklist that you guys need to do. This checklist is important for the day. These things need to be done. Some of it was stats. Some of it was making sure things were filed correctly on their CRM. Some of these things were follow-ups for different things like that. And the staff were taking it as a suggestion, right? And because there was no authoritative, it was okay. So we had to have, some of them call it come to Jesus meeting or something like that. And we all feel like, oh, those are terrible. But really what they did was what they should do. They'd say, okay, this is the challenge we're having. This is the goal. There would be no raises until I hit that goal, nothing this. And I've given checklists. Those checklists have to be done. They're not a suggestion to get to that goal. And we can't seem to get over that. So let me ask you, when you didn't finish it, what was your thought process on that? And then let it drop. Let that silence sit. What were you thinking, right? But not, what were you thinking, right? That's a different tone. But what were you thinking? So you can hear back from them, well, whatever it is, I either thought it was stupid, or I just felt like I didn't have enough time, or I thought I felt like, and usually, and I think in this case, I felt like this was the bigger priority. And what they did is they prioritized a very minor task that's more administration, takes a while, that actually was not the big priority. It was what was on the list. Well, that's not the biggest priority. The biggest priority is this. I'm going to be much happier, and I feel like we're going to do much better if we can get this. And then you have to ask them, can I get your commitment to doing this, and by next week it'll all be done? Yes, I will commit, or yes, I will not. You have to get someone's commitment. If it's a patient, can I get you to commit? If you've already got them in care, but you want them to get a better outcome, can I get you to commit to doing this by the next time we meet, so that we're not saying the same thing and you're still kind of unhappy? Can you commit to doing whatever it is they need to do? Follow this diet, do this stretch for 5 minutes a day, go and get that x-ray for me. Can you do that? Just asking people to commit can put yourself more into that. Look, I am authority, but I need your buy-in in order to do it. And real leaders do that. And real people who are people in authority tend to do that. They ask for the buy-in and they clarify. What else do you think I should add, or we should add to that?
Well, I'm just thinking one thing to make it tangible would be to ask yourself the question, if I want to achieve something, if I want to change something, if I want to implement something, how confident am I, or are you? How confident are you that you're going to be able to do that? So if it was a new checklist that you wanted the team to implement or adapt, the simple question would be, if I want to do this, how confident am I that it will get done the way I want it done? And I mean, understanding it, getting to the real answer there is going to be very, very important for you to be able to show up more authoritatively. The first would be to identify, are you showing up that way? So it's all about understanding if you are or if you're not, and if you're not, then what can you do about it? So how can you exercise those muscles so that you can kind of beef up the way in which you're showing up in, and it's not just your business, it's in your life, for your kids, for your partner, for your own health, for all of these things. Are you basically in control of what happens?
Absolutely. And when you start to ask these questions of yourself and challenging your own self, then it becomes easier. We make commitments to ourselves, or we're supposed to, right? It makes it easier when you start honoring your own commitments to really look at other people and go, you know what, I'm going to ask you to honor this for me too, because that's the type of relationship we have, either staff or you've come to me for my experience as, a client or as a patient. But guys, that's why authority matters. I hope that this has given you some excitement so that you can go to your day, ask the right questions, and then show up as an authority in your life, because that's why we're here, so you can make 10,000 within 10 minutes. Again, guys, this is the end of our Coach's Corner episode. Please like, follow, and share, and give us a 5-star review. It helps us to be able to help you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Super Clinic Project podcast, Coach's Corner edition. If you would like to work with Jennifer or Tracey to 2 or 10x your business, then go to superclinicproject.com and click on either Jennifer or Tracey's photograph to book a complimentary session. Your greatest breakthrough is just a session away.